So in the email below, when you click on the link, there'll be an extensive blog post. And again, as I've shared, the 3 Ps are lessons that I learned, several years ago after going through 4 strokes and open heart surgery. What did I take away from that? And so over the last summer, I had a chance to think about that and contemplate lessons learned. The time that I felt most in tune with myself and the chance that I had to develop my purpose was the day that I was sitting in the hospital and I was preparing for open heart surgery. Keep in mind that my wife and newborn baby are in another wing of the hospital, and I have a toddler at home. And so they're all going to go home and start this next journey, and I was preparing for open heart surgery. And the surgeon came in and said, "Hey, do you have your will put together?" And so this has been something that's been on our to-do list for years. My wife and I knew that. We had a friend, luckily, Liz Rowe, that was a lawyer that came to the hospital on a Saturday and sat down with us and helped us work on this will. But the day before, I was in the hospital and I was alone, and I kept thinking to myself, this is the most defining moment. And as I write my will, it's not about money, it's not about where we're going to hand things down, but there were 3 things that I thought a lot about. And these 3 things to me were my faith. I thought a lot about my faith. Why is this happening to me, and what am I going to learn from this, and how am I going to grow? The second thing for me, as I worked through my will and knowing that I had to work through it in a constrained time frame, was others. And a lot of it, I kept thinking about my kids. Newborn that was a couple days old, and a toddler at home. And I'm thinking, what is it that I want in my will? What is my will for others, my family, my wife, my kids? That was the second thing that I thought a lot about. So as I kept thinking about purpose, faith was number 1. I kept thinking about others, especially my family. And the third piece, as I was working through, this will, was I was thinking, what impact have I had here? We're given such a short period of time here on earth. What impact have I made in others? And have I left the world better than I found it? And so those are just things that I put out there for you. Not saying that everyone, as you write your will, you'll define your life purpose. But for me, that was an experience, and I'll never forget that time in the hospital where I was alone and I was scared and extremely vulnerable. And I always thought that to me a will was about, hey, where does this money go in this 401k? That didn't matter. And we've talked about 3 Ps: people, perspective, and purpose. And when I opened up this experiment, this was going to be the last one. Sharing this, a friend of mine, Jill and Mike Harquist, have kind of challenged us to think about a 4th P. And so the 4th P that they've challenged us to think about is this pause. And I think that's what this whole project's been about over the last year, is to kind of pause and think, what did we learn from that experience? And so while maybe you thought you were off the hook with only 3 Ps, there may be a 4th one coming. Diving into these lessons learned that are around people and relationships, my perspective and how that continues to evolve with experiences, and then purpose and how do we define our life story and our purpose. I do think that there's an element that causing me to step back and say, I got to pause, because we spend so much time in life thinking about tomorrow and what's next. But to really pause and reflect and say, what have we learned so far, and where are areas that I need to continue to improve on or make changes in. I also have a project that I'll work on in 2018 that within my blog, the goal and the objective is all about making every step count. And so a lot of that has to do with technology and ways that we've been able to utilize technology in our home to hopefully make every step count. And there are ways that for us that it's made our life more efficient, and there's a lot of ways that I've wasted an awful lot of time and energy on things that just didn't matter. So I'll be looking for a technology project that comes down the pipe in the coming year, and then also maybe working on a 4th P if I sit back and there's a calling here. And I shared with you when I kicked off this project that when I went through the challenges with my health that I went through, there was one person that had been through heart surgery at the age of 32. And to Diane Robertson, I promised her that I would pay it forward. Here's to making every step count.